every time that there is a white tea person that is apparently white tea, no confusion, but then all of a sudden they'll speak Spanish, that detail in itself will fool a lot of black people into, oh damn, I thought you were white tea. Damn, they're Hispanic. So it's almost like that changes the race in the eyes of the general, or sorry, the common black person. At least, you know what, let me be specific. The common black American. Because black people in Latin America, they know this. They're aware because as opposed to here in this country where white tea American is the only white tea that people think there is. But in Latin America, the white tea Latinos to us is exactly what the white tea American is over there in our countries. And that's where I believe black Americans fail to understand in general. I know there's a lot of them that do understand this, but in general, there's a lot of black Americans that they will see a white presenting completely white tea person. But as soon as I say, oh, no, I was born in Mexico. That's it. They're like, oh, my bad, man. You're not white tea. I thought you were white tea. You look it. So that's one detail that I wanted to share that I think fools a lot of people. White tea Latinos have the ability to fool the average Joe into thinking they're a different race.
Let's just take the president of Mexico, for instance. These people are what they call mimetic.
Uh-huh.
You know, what that means is they have the ability to take on the culture of a host country that they are in.
Yes.
And then they are able to camouflage, if you will. So there's this very real aspect of camouflaging their identity. So when language becomes the indicator for non-white tea, in this instance, Spanish, if you will, only because of that conflation of people who speak Spanish, who just happen to be a lot of black people come across, which are non-white tea, like yourself, Ricardo. Of course, you're indigenous. So a lot of, black people may come across you, you start speaking Spanish, and they're like, okay, so they associate the language with those. And this is an argument I've heard you say before, but this is an argument that I've used against my own people. And I said, in that case, we should be considering ourselves Anglos, Anglo-Saxons. We speak English and we have English last names. So because you meet a person that speaks Spanish and they're not white tea, you know they're not. Why do you call them Spanish? Like I used to work with this sister, and a brother, he was obviously phenotypically black. And she says to me, well, I thought he was black until he started speaking Spanish. And I'm like, what? So you mean to tell me if he starts speaking Dutch to you, he's no longer black? What if he starts speaking Chinese? Well, Mandarin or Cantonese?
The rising tide of color. You mentioned it before?
Yes.
Yes.
But it's very interesting because they go over different lands that they conquer. He was saying as these people wake up and want their shit back, it's going to disrupt our standard of living. You know what I mean? And they talk about the Spanish in detail. And they talk about this very idea of manutorious. Well, in the United States, we call it manutorious manumission. But in Latin America, this manutorious was like a reward for pretty much being in compliance with white tea supremacy. And the reward in Latin America was, okay, you get to intermarry with us and you're no longer who you are anymore. And we're going to call you a separate class of people. We're going to call you mestizo. We're going to call you mulatto. We're going to call you all this other shit. And you're going to accept it.
Yeah.
Brother, that's why I love your channel because, like minds think alike. And I like how you break it down and explain things to people. These people, if they have the power to name you, then they have, and you accept it, then they have the power to dictate every other facet of your life. They got you tricked on language. So you see a person who's obviously white tea, obviously Caucasian. And because they speak a different language, they're no longer they're exempt now from white tea.
Somehow, some way they convince you that they're a different race than what they're visibly, obviously presenting.
Your eyes are lying to you now. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I find that very interesting. But again, for me, the way I anchor that understanding or lack of understanding in our people that I deal with is we are very much prisoners of war. We are behind enemy lines and we are under duress. And out of that, the possibilities of the mind states that we're dealing with are going to be endless, dear brother. So that's the way I kind of see that conflation of language and race. So again, a lot of our people just don't understand.
Yeah.
You're not gonna change these people. You're not gonna interracial relationship love them out of their position. They're gonna trick you out of your position.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, they doing it. And I like what you said about President Obama. If they can put a black face somewhere and make you think that they have changed, and that's all they need to do, we screwed. Then they can give my people, the indigenous people of Mexico, um, this woman, and oh, she's helping the indigenous. I'm like, so you rob me of my money, and you give me back a portion of my money, and I should be happy. And only in the twilight zone. This shit don't make sense.
If you really think about it, if we're gonna like lay it out how it really is, basically what we say or what we allow ourselves to believe is, look, the white T man came, they took everything, but now they're trying to give us some back. See, they're not bad. They're trying to give us a piece, man. See, they have the ability to change. And the fact that we convince ourselves to see things this way, it shows how screwed we really are. It shows, and it made me so sad, man. It made me so sad how many to see how many indigenous people on social media were overjoyed to see a white T woman become president of Mexico. She cares about the indigenous. Listen, I'm gonna say this straight up right now. Any non-indigenous that cares about indigenous will move themselves out of the way of the indigenous so that the indigenous do not have to depend on the non-indigenous anymore. That's how you prove you care. If not that way, you don't care. That's that simple.
And that's actual facts because a brother or a sister want for their brother or sister what they want for themselves.
Uh-huh.
And obviously, they're not our family because they still want to sit in that position of lordship, if you would. But this is the last thing, and I'm gonna let you go ahead and drop me. But in what you just said, a lot of our people don't realize the danger that we are in. They are playing the position of the frog who has the ability to adjust his body temperature to his surroundings. Now, peep this. We all saw it, well, most of us should have. You put a frog in the room temperature water, it's comfortable, but you can turn it up degree by degree. But the frog having the ability to adjust its body temperature to its surroundings does not realize the danger that is in until it's too late. And that's our people. We are
Yeah.
trying to adapt to each administration, each new law, each new corporate reconstruction of white tea supremacy. And we don't realize the time right now that we're in and how dangerous it is for us. This is really the Infinity War end game, and it's going to determine whether we survive or we go down with this sinking ship called the Titanic. And I'll land my plane on that, dear brother.
Yeah, yeah, we are a colonized people desperately trying to assimilate and or adapt to a system that is ever changing and that changes every time that white people feel like things are not going their way. And as long as we remain a people always attempting to adapt and or assimilate into a system that white T people have the power to always change, to always benefit them, we will always be doing this.
Yeah, but keep
What,
doing, keep
what is this? Accepting their crumbs. That's it.
keep doing what you're doing, though, man. I love what you're doing. And honestly, you like one of the only real real people out here, man, in the universe. You know what I
Thank
mean?
you.
I do believe that at this time, you know, the all wise creator, are raising men and women who can see beyond the bullshit, and actually trying to wake our people up to the truth and the reality of what's really happening. Because I have time now to vet a lot of different pages and people and their talking points, you know, and I always give you shout outs, man. Go follow Ricardo, man. Go follow Ignacio Ricardo. He's gonna really be that adjustment, if you will, on your hard drive to wipe that shit of all that fake software and put in some new information the way you can properly see what's going on. So man, let's keep doing what you're doing there, brother, and keep getting stronger and wiser. And those of us, like myself, we're gonna be in the back and also in the front.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
All right, there, brother.
All right.